Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Colleagues, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Chair.
Recording in progress.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning. Thank you. It's 9:30. I think we can start our meeting. Albertina, do you have the agenda with you there? Please, can you post it?
Morning, Chair, can you see it now?
Yes, I can see it now. Thank you very much. I was also looking for mine here on my gadget. Okay, we can start. Colleagues, you are welcome to this meeting. The department, trying to check. Okay. So, honorable members, thank you very much. You are mostly welcome to this portfolio committee meeting this morning. I want us to look at the agenda. Maybe start with the apologies. Albertina, can we take apologies? Do you have any apologies?
Okay, thank you, Chair. Morning, Chairperson, members and colleagues. Chair, we've got the apology from MP Tabekulu, MP Mtwedi, DM Kapa, no Minister. Chair, I've got only those 4 apologies from me.
Okay. Thank you very much. Colleagues, do you have any apologies that you would like to make on behalf of someone? Okay, nothing. Thank you very much. So we can start. We are supposed to have the department and OBP today. So on the agenda, we have the first item, which is the briefing on the 2024-25 fourth quarter performance and expenditure reports and progress on implementation of audit improvement plans by the department. It stated the former Department of Agriculture and Reform and Rural Development. So we'll start with the presentations from the from the department. I was trying to check who's leading the department. I'm not sure whether the DG is here. I can't see him. Anyway, the department will help us.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes.
The DG is struggling to connect, Chair, but he is busy trying to connect.
Okay, yeah, I could see that he's not here.
Yeah. Okay, sure. So we must lead.
Okay, while the DG is trying to connect, is there anyone from the department, from the DDGs, who can take over in the meantime?
Good morning, Chair,
Anastasia?
and all the...
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chair, and good morning to yourself and the committee members. I am Lebogang Botsileng. I'm the acting DDG for Food Security and Agrarian Reform. As per your direction, Chair, I think right away we will go to our first expectation, which is the briefing where the department will present on our Q4 performance and expenditure report. We will start with that one, Chair, and I will ask my colleague to right away start with that presentation, if it is okay with you, Chair.
Yes, it's fine. You can start.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Acting DDG Botseleng. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chairperson and
Yes.
members of the Portfolio Committee. Chair, you'll guide me. I'm going to present the Q4 report of DALRRD,
Yes.
Department of Land Reform Development.
Yes.
You'll guide me, Chair, whether should I go to each and every target or should I rather focus more on those where we underperform on them?
Yeah, I think you'd rather go straight to the ones that you underperformed. I take it that members have gone through the presentation, and if members have questions, even on the part that you have not presented, they will then be able to ask you a question. You just have to be ready to respond to all questions on the presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. Absolutely. My name is Dr. Puti, Chair.
Okay.
Yes, I'm in the area of planning, monitoring, and evaluation in the department. So can you just move to the next slide, please? Let's move. Next slide. Yes, just go back a little bit, the one before this one. Chair, I'm happy to present a 76 achievement for Q4 in the department. And I must add, Chair, that this is the second highest, only to 78% achieved during 2022-23 for the same period. So generally, 2024-25 have been a very good performance area or performance period for the department. And in Q4, Chair, we were already at the point where we predicted the status of what is likely going to happen in the annual achievement, since it was the last quarter of the financial year. But I guess, Chair, we'll still have a chance after the table of the annual report to come and talk about the annual performance. For today, the focus is only on Q4. So we can move to the next slide. Next slide. Here, this is just the spread of how that 76% was achieved by various programs of the department, Chair. So I will not want to go too much into individual programs, but 76% is what the department in its entirety achieved. Next slide. Next slide. Here, it was just what I was just trying to articulate in my introduction, Chair, just doing a comparison of the behavior of DALRRD on a quarterly basis. And this is a very important analysis, Chair, because it had to guide the planning area of the peak performance period for the issue of targeting and also the allocation of resources. So next slide. So this is just the slide which would be very important when we present our annual performance, just a comparison of the annual performance. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, Chair. So this is one of the targets, Chair, which we were just 3% less successful in achieving the intended 100% target. And it is mostly due to the banking details, which were not aligned to the one that has already been recorded in our departmental system. And also the issue of the time that it was taking for the beneficiaries or the claimants to be able to resolve queries that have been picked up into the invoices. And we are intending to continue working on strengthening the controls and improve our relationship with them so that they can be able to, to react a little bit faster to issues that have been raised. Next slide. If you can just go to all the red, just go to the one that will be red. I think the whole program 2, they've all achieved their targets, Chair. So they're all green in program 2. So we'll move to the next one in program 3. The next red one will be program 3. Yes, Chair. So sadly, this target actually just failed to be achieved due to technicalities. Knowing that we have the due date of reporting. So at the time when the reporting for Q4 was closed, the validation of all of this farmers that have been supported were not yet concluded because we still had a backlog. If you recall, Chair, from the first Q1, we had a backlog, of verifying the farmers that have been supported through blended finance. So we are still busy finalizing those that were supported in the first 3 quarters of the financial year by the time when the Q4 closed. But I'm happy to give this update to say we have since validated 33 producers, who have been supported within Q4. And this 33 producers of Q4 will actually be part of those that will be part of the annual reporting, Chair. But what the issue that we have, identified as one that has led to the delay, in getting the right information was the way our TID, technical indicator description, was formulated. And we have since worked on strengthening it. Not only that, Chair, but we have also engaged with various dependency or partners that we are working together into this particular process so that there can be that same understanding. And it is then our belief that going forward in 2025-26, the flow of information will not only improve but will be received on time. Next slide. Yeah, this is also one of the targets which was very unprecedented for it not to have been achieved. We missed the target by about 118 to achieve the intended target of 693, and it's mostly due to the backlog, unfortunately, Chair, the dropout that we experienced in Q4 target, which ended up, affecting us badly not to achieve the target. Let's move, next slide. The number of FPSU supported to be functional. Sadly, we also missed the target by just one FPSU, and it was mostly due to the unfavorable weather around Northern Cape, Chair, which affected the support that was intended to be provided to one of the FPSU because that work could not be done on time. There were a lot of disturbances, due to the weather pattern, which will not allow the service provider to be able to do the work that was expected on time. Next slide. The number of smallholder farmers supported capacity in agricultural marketing, we reached a negative variance of 45, but precisely because there has already been a very huge Chair, overachievement in the first 3 quarters of the financial year. Actually, by the end of Q3, we are already having a surplus of 33. And hence, though the target has not been achieved, but it was already usually compensated by performance in the first 3 quarters of the financial year. However, this type of scenarios, Chair, are those that we are banking on them to use that particular trend to inform the proper targeting going forward. Let's move ahead. The issue of 95% of registered deeds delivered within 10 days. Unfortunately, we only managed to do 90%, Chair, and it is because of the poor system and availability, especially in the 4 provinces, Western Cape, Southern Gauteng, Northern Gauteng, and KZN, which ended up negatively impacting on us not to achieve the target. Next one. The average number of working days taken to process cadastral documents, Chair, we unfortunately missed the target by just 1 additional day. So we are late by 1 day, which made us to achieve 17 instead of doing that in 16 days. But it was mostly because of the backlog, the amount of work that had to be done within that particular period, considering that there was also at the same time, unfortunately, staff shortages that ended up with negatively on us to achieve the target. And the planned intervention is obviously to work on additional staff, which will ensure that the work will be recovered in time going forward. Chairperson and member of the Portfolio Committee, this is the last slide where we are less successful. I will pause here, Chair, maybe to allow the CFO, I hope, to come with the financial part of the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Lebo.
Thank you so much, Chair. This is Mokiti Mukono, the acting CFO.
Okay.
I'll be presenting the financial performance for the fourth quarter for DALRRD. In our executive summary, we are reporting a 94.4% expenditure for the 2024 financial year as at 31st March 2025. If you look at the underspending, we've got underspending in program 3. We also have got underspending in program 4 and 5, and there's also in program 6. So if we look at mainly the main reason why we've got underspending in this program, one, in all programs, we had underspending on the compensation of employees, and that is mainly due to the suspension of filling of posts that happened during the year. You'll remember that the department was going through an NMOC process where we're splitting DALRRD into two, and there was a resolution 5 of 2024 that was then taken to suspend all positions up until the process of NMOC is completed. So that affected in all areas. Then the other areas of underspending is on food security. We've got underspending on PES. I think during the year we did report that we've changed implementation model from using Vodacom issuing vouchers to small scale farmers or beneficiaries to using the Department of Agriculture as our implementing agents. The program started very slow. However, it did recover. What had happened in that space is that as at 31st of March, we had an underspending. However, we also had accruals from the Department of Agriculture where an additional about 68 million was spent by the department, but yet to be paid to all the provincial department. We also have underspending, and this is a huge one on restitution. The 952 million that we've underspent on, bulk of it is on restitution. We also in here had a change in the payment system where we used ABSA previously as our implementing agent to transmit or transfer all house financial compensation to individual beneficiaries. However, that model was then revoked through National Treasury as well as ABSA not wanting to continue further on the matter. And what happened is that there was volume of transactions that needed to be paid individually instead of using transmission through ABSA. We're busy with the bulk transfer system with National Treasury. We've been working with Treasury in ensuring that we do have a bulk transfer system where we'll be able to pay multiple beneficiaries using that platform from Treasury. We also had challenges with rural infrastructure projects where we did not spend our entire budget. This is as a result of areas around construction, build environment, challenges, disputes with communities, with contractors, and in some instances, rainy weathers, as my colleague has presented on the FPSUs. And the last challenge we've got is on the Agri-BEE fund. Also in this space, the contract with the Land Bank had to be relooked at. Also that the new accounting standard that we've got indicates that we only recognize an expenditure when service and goods are delivered, not when we do the transfer to implementing agent. The next slide, Chair, is just the... Can you please go to the next slide? The next slide is just to indicate the 94% looking at all the programs. Can you move to the next slide? You can pass. So if you look at the economic classification, as I indicated, compensation of employees is sitting at 96%. The 134 million is the direct figures or results of the moratorium that was placed. We could not also fill positions that were exited during the year also due to that process. And if you look at transfers and subsidies, we're sitting at 91% and payment of capital at 94%. If you move to the next slide, I'm going to jump quickly to the next slide to Next slide to the agriculture programs and sub-programs. This would exclude administration as well as the programs that directly linked with land reform. So if you look at how agriculture portfolio performed in the year, we're sitting at 98% expenditure in program 2 in terms of the agricultural production biosecurity, and we at 99%. The 1% there that was underspent is sitting at COE, and the food security program, the 98%, as I indicated, that 89 million. As at year end, the Provincial Department of Agriculture submitted invoices and proof of work for about 68 million that is currently sitting as our accrual in our financial statements. And we've got the EDTM that is mainly affected by the bigger chunk of the transfer to Land Bank. Can you move to the next slide? And this is just how the economic classification of those programs is sitting at 97% at COE. Transfers, we're sitting at 97% also. And capital asset, we're sitting at 89%. If we move to the audit improvement plan, the audit improvement plan that I'm going to present is the report as at the fourth quarter. This report, we've previously presented that our audit improvement plan has been subjected for a review by our internal audit, and as at the fourth quarter, we're sitting at 70% of the action fully implemented. We've got 27% partially implemented, 3 not yet implemented. So if you look at what actually happened, the 27% and the 3%, the 27% is mainly around the ICT and consequence management areas, and areas where it mainly was affected by the NMOC and the split processes that that we went through in the year, and the 3% not yet implemented is areas where the implementation cannot happen due to the fact that the finding would have fallen off based on our explanation in terms of how the finding was presented to us and also responded to us by ourselves to AG. So if you look at the areas, next slide, if you look at the areas that we had in our audit improvement plan on a summary basis, is we've got procurement findings. We had about 27 procurement findings. This 27 procurement findings, our action plan around procurement was ensuring that we strengthen internal control environment and also deal with administrative issues and also introduce consequence management in that space. And we did work around procurement, compliance training, and also reviews by our internal review committees. We've got also issues around contract management that we had findings around. And in this space, our implementation model action plan was that we'll have to deal with introduction of the standard operating procedures on contract management and project management to accurately deal with and report with commitments, non-performance, blacklisting of service providers. And this is the area we've done with. We've also reported, finalized the space during when we're submitting the financial statement this financial year. Can you move to the next slide? The next slide, this was areas around quality control, quality of our financial statements we fully implemented, where we worked on ensuring that we strengthen our working papers, especially around advances and prepayment notes, issues on retention and accrual and payables, which we done. We also did a year-end procedures where we had to ensure that delivery of goods and services and payment is done as at 31st March to minimize the impact and the risk of accruals and payable. We also had issues around revenue management, which we also done. The next slide. The next slide is the last slide, Chair. This is the area of consequence management that we have not yet fully finalized, as presented previously by the DG, that there had been a strategy around dealing with a backlog with regard to consequence management, and also the ICT challenges. As I indicated, the bigger challenge why we did not meet this is because of the NMOC split. We needed to split the budget, therefore that the work needed to be preparatory for the two department. And also on 30-day payment, Chair, just to indicate that on top of the strengthening of the nodal point and timely submission, National Treasury is busy with the development of an invoice tracking system would be within the logis module that will also assist us to better track the invoices as early as possible to deal with all the challenges on time, so that we can then be able to meet the 30-day payment cycle. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CFO. The last presentation is it by the
By the chair.
By the chair of
Committee.
the audit committee. Internal audit. Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair, and good morning to the members of the Portfolio Committee. And my presentation, let me just see whether I can share. Okay, you can share. Thank you. Thank you very much. My presentation is on the status on the implementation of the AGSA action plans, as we had been requested. Though it says here that this is the executive summary per branch as of the 31st of March, but the verification that we are going to be reporting in terms of the numbers, it's actually as at the end of the third quarter. So you can move to the next. Thank you. Go back. Thank you. Thank you very much. In terms of what we report on a quarterly basis, management will report to us the status of implementation of the AGSA action plans, and then internal audit will also present their report in terms of their results, in terms of their review of the work that has been done by management in implementing those action plans. As I've said, this is as at the end of the third quarter, and what's important to note is that what the CFO presented is at the end of the fourth quarter, but I'm presenting is at the end of the third quarter because that was what was verified by internal audit by the 31st of March. So for the whole quarter, there was work that was done by the department. So you'll find that my report is reporting less completion because of that lag in terms of the time. We can move. Okay, thank you. What we've done is we give an update on the action plans on the overarching programs, and then where possible, we then do provide status on specifically on the Department of Agriculture findings and the land reform and rural development. But for the purpose of this portfolio committee, it will be DOA. We can move to the, okay, in terms of this executive summary, in the total of 59 findings, 26 were fully implemented and 31 were partially implemented, and only 2 were not implemented. So for the purpose of this morning, I'm only going to focus on the 2 that were not implemented, because obviously the ones that were partially implemented, like I've said, in the whole quarter, a lot would have happened in terms of the progress in closing some of those, as you have heard from the presentation of the CFO as well. We can move to the next one. The 2 that were not implemented was obviously relating to the information which the AG said they had requested regarding the assets and physical verification and project files. And then there is the progress that was reported by management was that the information was there in terms of the files, but then it would be limited to the project registration letters and the procurement instructions and PACE reports, as all the other information for SCM and project reports will be kept by the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure as the custodian of the physical assets. And then the other one was relating to the NARISEC participants. Because the NARISEC participants are not normal employees of the department, you then in the audit of the NARISEC participants, you can't use the same process as you would use when you're auditing the NARISEC participant, because they are abnormal, they are on an abnormal appointment, for lack of a better word. So that was a dispute with the Auditor General in terms of the approach that was followed in actually auditing them. So the rest of the slides, Chair, are talking to the partially implemented, that is the update as at the end of the third quarter, which I'm reporting. So I'm not going to go through those. So I will then go to the last slide, colleague. Yeah, last go. Because these are all partially implemented. I'm taking them as read. So we are saying as the audit committee that as at the end of the third quarter, the former Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development fully implemented 50% of all the AGSA findings issued. And we are also giving the assurance that the verification of internal audit on a quarterly basis to determine the adequacy of the action plans given by management and to verify the adequacy of the portfolio of evidence for action plans implemented by management provides assurance that management is determined to clear all external audit findings. As part of the oversight role of the audit committee, the audit committee ensures on a quarterly basis that management gives the necessary attention to all the findings raised by the AGSA to work towards obtaining the clean audit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all the presentations. I take it that that was the last presentation of the department. Colleagues, I would like us to take a discussion before we go to the Onderstepoort biological products presentation. I will see by hand, show of hand, Honorable Trolley.
Ndalane.
Honorable Ndalane. Okay, you can start, Honorable Trolley, and then Ndalane will be followed by Honorable Oukamp and Honorable David.
Thanks very much, Chair. I note that there's a rider for the under expenditure, especially in the Department of Rural Development and Land Reform, related to the splitting of the two departments. I just want to put this on the record, that it might be the first year, but it cannot be an ongoing excuse for under expenditure. Any under expenditure in agriculture or rural development compounds the misery of rural poverty in South Africa, and we can't, as a committee, entertain excuses. But this one about being related to the splitting of the department, if it is an excuse, it can only be accepted once. It can't be an ongoing reason. Then, Chair, with regards to the under expenditure of nearly R1 billion, I believe that just represents underperformance. I need clarity around the ABSA payment issue of restitution. And I also need an explanation why restitution is always related to payment. Because land is an issue that gets raised all the time in our portfolio and all the time in Parliament. Yet when we receive reports from the department, it's about payment for restitution. So is land really the issue that everybody makes And why is payment for restitution being compromised by a commercial bank? I need an answer on both of those. And then I noticed in the very speedy slide presentation around heritage assets, there was a 6% expenditure. I need somebody in the department to explain why heritage assets that only have a 20 million rand budget, and we only spend 6% of that budget. Heritage assets are really important assets, and once they're allowed to degenerate, they are no longer heritage assets. So I need an explanation for that. And then cooperative development has been one of the strategies of this
Chairperson,
department.
can I just call order, please?
Who is calling
Chairperson.
order?
It's me, Sylvie, Honorable Isaacs. I'm just concerned at the fact that Honorable Trollop is displaying his party name and everything just behind him. I don't know since when it became permissible in the committee, or am I wrong?
Okay.
I beg your pardon, Chairperson.
Yes,
your
Honorable. Yes,
It was completely inadvertent. I was online all morning with that other background. I apologize to Honorable Isaacs and to the rest of the committee and the members. I really apologize for that. It's a strategy of the department, obviously, to have cooperative development. Whether that is a successful strategy or not is a matter for debate. But to only spend 38% on cooperative development when it is a strategic departmental objective is a concern, and I'd need some background and some response in that regard. And then, Chair, it's a general observation from the reports we've had that strengthening of internal control environments being part of an audit improvement plan, as if this is a brand new department. It's not a brand new department. Neither is the Department of Agriculture. They've been around for 7 administrations.
yes.
And to have an audit improvement plan focused on strengthening internal controls, to me, is completely unacceptable. We need to have internal controls. And later it mentions administrative errors. Well, administrative errors are a management issue. And we would like to know, as the committee, what management steps have been taken to address administrative errors, especially around the 30-day payment requirement. I mean, this requirement is not a new requirement. It's been in government requirement for 30 years. 30 years. And then my last question around NARISEC. I'm not exactly sure how long NARISEC's been around, but it's certainly been around for about 10 years. And at least 10 years. And how we allocate employment or contractual employments to NARISEC participants, it can't be dealt with as an abnormal appointment or expenditure for a program that's been around for 10 years. Surely this matter should have been clarified years ago. It can't still be an ongoing audit query at least 10 years after that initiative started. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Trollip. Honorable Ndalane.
No, thanks, Chairperson, and good morning to everybody. And I think mine is under the underspending in the key programs. And the department underspent over 950 million, and largely in food security. I just want, can the department explain how it plans to prevent delays caused by the procurement bottlenecks, contractors dispute, and implemented model shift, especially in critical areas such as PEC, PSS, and Agri-BEE fund, so that service delivery is not compromised in future quarters? And the other one, I think, actually, I'm covered because when Honorable Trollip explained on the issue of payment, delays in payment of invoices, and what specific reform has the department implemented to streamline invoices verification processes and ensure that new banking verification challenges do not recur in the 2025-26 financial year. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Dalane. Honorable Okam.
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you for the opportunity.
morning.
Thank you also for the presentations that were given. I do not have a lot of questions. The one question that I've got is with regards to payment of suppliers within 30 days. Can we just get a reason of why that has not happened and what is being put in place for that to happen? We are all living in very difficult times, and not paying suppliers on time is obviously going to have an influence on their businesses, which will also in the end have an influence on the prices that they do ask us. That for one. Then with regards to the number of producers through the blended finance scheme, obviously we see the target there is 0. And we had our oversight visit. Can we just get an idea of what is being put in place to increase that number? Chairperson, I'm going through the whole proposal here in front of us. So let me just check. I've got another question. If you can just indulge with me. The number of smallholder farmers capacitated in agricultural marketing. There was a target of 60. We've only achieved 15. And obviously we all want our smallholder farmers to be better equipped and to be assisted. If we can just get a bit of more, obviously we all can read the reasons for deviation, but what we are interested in are the plans put in place to assist these people. Not only the reasons why we've deviated. I believe that there are plans in, but I think it would be good if this committee can be informed about that. Then, Chairperson, with regards to page, let me get there, sorry. It's a very long presentation, so you must excuse me. On page 7, the administration line, the first block, is red, 0 achieved. Can we just get an idea of why that is? I assume that there must be a good reason for that, but I mean, I would just like to get an indication of what is going on there. And then with regards to the Auditor General, just it is good to hear that the department is doing a lot of things to get back on track. Are there any continuing discussions with the department to make sure that we get as close to as a clean audit on all the outstanding items? What will be done on the items that are still risky to not receive a green light for the audit? We would obviously, as a department and as a committee, see that this department get a clean audit. Thank you for the efforts that has been put in place. There clearly are improvements here, and I think that the cooperation between the Auditor General's office and the department is very good. I would just like to find out with regards to continuous conversations on that and continuous action plans to make all these red blocks green. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Okam. You are followed by Honorable Davids.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, all the members. Good morning, the department. I also want to welcome and thank you for your presentation. My first question, Chair, is on the youth and National Rural Youth Service scopes. My question to the department, has the department undertaken any beneficial feedback on or tracer of studies to understand why young people are dropping out of this program? And then, Chair, I want to go to the audit committee. My first question there is, given the recurrent pattern, partially implemented audit actions across financial services, can the DG's office and CSE, what consequent management mechanisms are being enforced to address persistent non-compliance in underperformance? And my last question there, Chair, is can the department assure the committee that the POE verification progress to reoccurs and includes equitable assessment, not just equitable assessments, not by just putting document submissions, but also the procurement that the department is using. Can it be found that it is effective and there is an action plan? Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for the questions. DG, I see that you are now here. Can you please lead the responses of the questions that honorable members have asked here?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. I'm trying to switch on my camera. I hope that I'm visible on the other side. No, thank you very much.
No,
Chair,
I can't see you, DG.
you cannot see me, Chair. What about now?
Yeah, now we can see you, DG.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, there were various questions which I have noted in terms of the engagements, and most of them related to the budget, and the others related to the program economic development, trade and marketing, and the others were on food security. So let me start off with Melebo Butseling, who's currently acting DDG in food security, come with the acting CFO, and then I will answer the others because the other colleagues are not on the platform, having other pressing engagements which the country requires them to execute. But I will respond to all those issues. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Lebu, can you come in?
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the DG. I noted a question around how will the department going forward try to deal with under expenditure, especially around payments of expenditure on food security. Our presentation earlier on by Dr. Puti indicated that in order to track expenditure trends, especially around food security programs, is that we have since tried to cut the much of use of service providers. And honorable members would have observed that in both the CFO and Dr. Puti's presentation, there was somewhere where we were procuring the services of Vodacom to issue out vouchers for our farmers. And we have since decided to localize that activity and instead make disbursement to provinces to be the ones that are in control. We must acknowledge that that needs much of monitoring to ensure that we are able at the same time to comply with audit and all the compliances of proving that indeed the farmers received that kind of support. But that is one of the department's strategy, honorable member, to make the provinces accountable and be the ones that are in control of all the support that we give to our farmers, whether in cash or in kind. That is the response that we can give in that regard. There was a second question, DG, around from Madam Ndalane around, and it was also around how do we still deal with the same issue of under expenditure in order to have impact to the farmers on the ground. And the same response will still apply in this for this period under review, that we have since taken a decision as a department to take the resources that we have down to provinces, and we monitor the work that they do in advancing the support to our farmers. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so who is responding to the other questions?
Thank you, Chair. Acting CFO.
Is that Mukiti? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Thanks, Honorable Chair, honorable members, for the questions. The first question was around the NMOC process, and we do indicate that we would not have an NMOC issue moving forth with regard to expenditure. On the COE expenditure, the resolution that was then reached with organized labor, and which is it's for all the departments that were affected with NMOC, put a hold on filling of positions. So we did have quite a number of positions that we needed to fill that we could not fill. And with the COE budget, the restriction on it is you can't shift, you can't move it anywhere. So if you don't spend it, it has to go back to National Treasury. So we do acknowledge the concern, and we are indicating that it will not be an issue moving forth. The second question from Honorable Torip was the issue around APSA. Why APSA, and what happened within the restitution space? So what had happened is that during the audit, when restitution programs started, especially for financial compensation, we've always had APSA as an implementing agent in terms of transferring financial compensation to claimants. But in the last 2 financial years, the Auditor General had an issue first with the issue around the risks that would be there with regard to not the department transmitting to individual farmers. So what the department will do is will transfer the amounts and the list with all the claimants that qualify for financial compensation to APSA, and APSA will distribute. So that is how the matter started, and also then National Treasury also indicating that from a departmental point of view, from a government point of view, we do have a system within National Treasury where each and every banking detail is verified before we transfer. So which the National Treasury do. So what we normally do is for every payment we do, the banking details of every service provider gets verified before money is transmitted. That is just the risk around that was put around that space. Hence the decision between also National Treasury, APSA, to then say we will then move through to the National Treasury bulk transfer system, where each and every beneficiary's banking details would be verified by the system before payment. So that is the situation around that. It's just that when the decision was taken, we wanted to at least not implement it in the same financial year, so that we don't have the risk of underspending and also additional work that we need to do in that space. But the decision of National Treasury not to continue with giving us approval to use APSA then created this challenge. The other concern was the issue around why we're talking about financial compensation, not necessarily land. And it is an area that as a department we're also looking at, because it's what we've seen as trends is that because restitution claimants have got, in terms of the Restitution Act, they've got they are the ones that has to make a decision to either take financial compensation or take land acquisition. And we're seeing a number of beneficiaries opting to choose financial compensation rather than a land acquisition. In the last financial year, if you look at our land and subsoil, we've seen a little bit of increase on some areas, like for instance the Northwest, where the beneficiaries there are opting for land, and we're hoping that with communication, training, and workshops, beneficiaries would see the value of opting for land rather than financial compensation. But that is because our policies does allow that they need to make they will need to elect what kind of compensation will they get. There was a concern around the heritage budget. And the concern is indeed noted. This is we've also indicated that we've had underspending on rural infrastructure. And this rural infrastructure program is the one that also affected on finalization of construction around heritage site that was earmarked within the department. It's rural infrastructure area is one of the areas that we are concentrating on this year to ensure that we do ensure that the build environment and construction happens accordingly and within the time that we had planned to for it to do. But we note the concern, and it's an area that we'll look at. Also, the issue around cooperative, or the EDTM, I think, DG will touch on that. There was a concern around strengthening of internal controls. Just to indicate, yes, we do acknowledge that there was, if you look at the history, there was a department of the two department merging in the 5 years, and now now we demerging. But just to indicate that the control environment around the spaces would be, for instance, if you were introducing a new program, you introducing, for instance, with new programs around PESI, around prepayment and advances, with Vodacom and so forth, we needed to, you will continuously get into a space where you would want your internal control environment to be in such a way that it would be able to handle anything that is thrown at. So that is what we've been building towards, and what we are aiming is to reduce the number of recurrence or recurring findings, so that we don't get to a trap. And I think for as indicated, for now, the most recurring finding that we do have is around the 30-day payment. And what we've done in this current financial year is we've introduced consequence management and non-compliances, also holding individual DDGs accountable. And we've seen that with that action also included, there is a slight improvement in that space. We've got months where you will get to a 99% because we do continuously issue a consequence and non-compliance letters to DDGs as well as officials identify. So we're working on that. But also in this space, we're excited that National Treasury now has decided to build a module of tracking invoices, so that we do track those invoices on time, because by the time it gets to a payment level, would have tracked that a nodal point in food security, for instance, had an invoice and it delayed, and by the time it gets to finance and we pick up that the banking detail of a supplier is incorrect, we then have to now liaise with the supplier to go back and rechange the bank, submit the banking detail that needs to be verified before we pay, so that we can then deal with all those administrative issues, Chair and honorable members. The issue around the abnormal appointment on NARISEC, maybe just to explain this area. The auditors that have been auditing this program before, auditors get to be changed often, and we had new auditors that got in the previous financial year. So they've always understood that NARISEC participants are not employee of the department. So the team that came in, because NARISEC participants were part of our contractual contracts that we've given to this NARISEC, because we do give them stipends when they go through this training. They then viewed them as appointments. So what they wanted was that we need to then screen them, like employment screening, like when we screen an employment for any officials to get into the department, which was that bone of contention, to say their screening is different to the normal screening. So that area was just because of a new change in the audit team that had made us to then have that finding, and with continuous engagement with AG, the matter would be resolved. I think the underspending on food security was handled in payment of invoices. Let me see if I've not left out any any matter. I think there was an issue around verification of POEs and effectiveness around that space of audit. What we do is when we work on the action plans for the audit, each and every actions is then submitted to internal audit. Internal audit will then audit the adequacy of the document. What we also further do, as the chair explained also, what we further do is when we do submit the final report or financial statement for the year, we also do subject the very same set to the for internal audit to do also the internal audit review. We also subject it again to the audit committee, where the audit committee will also do their reviews. So what we do is then the evidence of working papers and so forth gets to be audited and looked at, and a feedback is then received for us finance to look at, so that space is running effectively. We don't have any challenges around that. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'll hand over to DG.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Let me try and summarize the issues that are at hand, starting with Honorable Trollip. And Honorable Trollip was raising the issue of this department being 30 years, which is admitted in totality. However, there are areas that I had raised with the portfolio committee before, especially around the restructuring process and how it impacts on employees within the department, how it impacts in terms of the work that is being done in the department, and how it also shows outside. And if we have got to look at the under expenditure that we are experiencing, which I will really give reasons for, you can also try and reason it out in terms of the current way that we are expressing ourselves as a department. Because in any process that you involved in terms of restructuring, you have got a split in the department, and therefore what you split are resources, and the main resources that you would split in terms of that with a lot of views, with a lot of feelings, are employees of the department. And it is inevitable that in any process of restructuring, there would be a level of engagement that you would have decreased productivity, which disrupts your normal processes that you are involved in, and therefore leading to a drop in productivity in most instances. And I'm not suggesting in terms of this, but that's generally what happens. And you also have got a greater level in terms of the new processes that you are likely to introduce, that the people are already thinking about what's coming instead of a real focus in terms of where we are. In the old departments, I think, let me take the previous systems that we had. When the Department of Agriculture merged with Forestry and Fisheries and merged with the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development, then there was a level of increased complexity in terms of the work that was done, because then the mandates become more. At this stage, we are dealing with decreased complexities, and therefore, in terms of then dealing with this, you will have the loss of key personnel, because in this case, you are the bigger department. In this case, is the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. You lose some of the personnel that might have been there. So you're sort of going to go back and draw strength in terms of building up again, which has got advantages and also disadvantages. And in all of this, honorable members, you have got these constant changes that builds instability among employees, having anxieties, and all of those which cannot be factored in terms, not factored in terms of performance. I think that's at a very high level. And Honorable Glory, I also have got a little bit of a concern in terms of the underspending. Not even a little bit of a concern. I'm concerned. I've raised this with both ministers. Because if you look at what the department managed to do in the previous financial year, where we spent almost all our budget, and now where we have spent only 94 with reasons, it's still underperformance. It's still something that has got to be frowned upon in any system that we have, by the reasons that are there. And as the accounting office of the department, I take full responsibility in terms of the areas that are there. And the reasons as given by Memocon are reasons that we had to manage through, that we had to get through. If you discount the areas that have been given indication around the commission underspending by just 633 million, which is 70% of what we are having, it means quite a lot of impact. Now, Memocon has gone to indicate why financial compensation. And it's a provision that is there in the Act. It's a provision that we as a department have got to work towards ensuring that people opt for land. Because when there is an opting for a financial compensation, though one of the areas that are there in the Act, it therefore drags that level of land restitution a little bit skew in terms of where we are. There was a question that came from Honorable Ndalani, and Honorable Ndalani was asking in a key way to say that those key programs, what is that we are doing in order to ensure that we don't have this underspending? Without any doubt, we are trying to ensure that we build on the corrective actions as the department to ensure that there is no underspending. Because I'm sitting here, honorable members, and the CFO is sitting here with payments that should have been made already, 62%, 62 million rands in terms of pacing, which would have offset the 89 million that has been underspent, saying that in actual fact, there's residual payments that we have got to make that are actually eating into the new budget for the two departments. On EDTM and Agri-BE, the CFO has explained in terms of the new accounting systems, when we have transferred money until the last cent leaves the land bank, we will still report any money that is not spent in that financial year as underspent. The commitments are there in terms of Agri-BE, and as indicated, Honorable Chair, we would want to have time to reflect on Agri-BE per se. On cooperatives, well covered in terms of the issues that were raised by the CFO. And Honorable Trolip, just to add on what Honorable Okamp, in terms of what the CFO has indicated, I think in most instances we are on the 100%. In this case, the department performing and having a 4% area that we have got to deal with. We're not discounting it. We're working on systems to make sure that we are running at 100%.
I'm sorry, DJ.
Okay, it's okay, man. On the blended finance, we agree. We have got to increase those numbers. We have got to ensure that many people get the blended finance, and one of those is an issue that the portfolio committee had engaged with one of the farmers who are selling off his land, which we are trying to resolve at this moment. With a few options that we are considering as the department. In terms of administration having two targets, those two targets, one is around the achievement of an unqualified audit, which comes very late in the year, and the other one in terms of the 100% payments within 30 days. That's the rate that Honorable Okamp was saying. I should say, honorable members, the audit committee that we had in the department, we are having interviews in terms of appointing the audit committee in agriculture in this week. We have appointed the audit committee for the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. We are striving for also ensuring that there is continuity in both, so that we don't drop certain things that were done in both departments in the restructuring process of both departments. We can supply, in terms of the final audit or the portfolio of evidence that supports the performance of the department over time. And in my closing, Chair, when the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development merged way back in 2019, in Q4, we always had performance that was very unsatisfactory. The performance in terms of the department at that stage was 50%, 60%. We then pulled it into the 70s, pulled it into the 80s in terms of the annual performance. And that is where the department is currently performing. Now, in the new departments, we can only hope that we will be able to maintain that, knowing that structurally, once you restructure, there are 4 phases that you have got to look at. One is looking at forming very quickly and performing as both departments, as indicated, with the staff that we are having going into this administration. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, DG. I just want, just as we close, before we go to OBP, to the internal audit, chairperson of the internal audit of DALRRD. I know that you made a presentation on the outcomes of the third quarter. You declared in the beginning. And you said the department has already implemented 50% in the summary at the end, 50% of those issues that were raised by the AG. My question is, are you happy with the outcome? And in terms of your observation, will the department be able to, resolve all the other issues that were raised, so that we don't have repeat findings from the AG? The other thing is that now the department has only achieved 70% of the in the fourth quarter. Responding on the issues that were raised by the Auditor General, what is your take on that? Implementation, are we not going to find any transgressions going forward? And I really don't know whether it was Honorable Trollip who spoke to the issue around the audit outcome of the Auditor General. I'm very interested in knowing as to how is the department going to fare overall at the end of the audit by the AGSA. So I would like you, as the chairperson, before you go, I know that the DG has just said they are busy with the interviews for both the departments, the internal audit. So just your comment on that. Now, DG, the last thing that I want to raise is a concern. I think this concern about the 30-day payment, somehow we need to close the gap. We cannot be raising that every year or every quarter when we come here. We must now have some way, of trying to address that matter. It's a very, very serious matter. Now, lastly, on the support to farmers, we should not only be about the number of farmers supported, it should also be the qualitative kind of support, whether it is comprehensive enough to make a difference in those lives of those farmers. Given the fact that one of the honorable members, I think it's Honorable Okam, who spoke about the oversight visit that we've had in the Northwest, I think, especially on the blended finance scheme. Some of the outcomes that we found there were not very, very happy about. We were not very happy about because they were not a qualitative kind of support, or the payments of the finances by the support by the land bank that was given to some of those farmers was not very helpful, in that it was not qualitative. I think I can make one example of the broiler farm there. So as you give this support, can we try and make sure that you do oversight and make sure that these support schemes really change the lives of those people that were supporting? I think I wanted to just emphasize that, especially on the blended finance scheme that we did go, and we saw that somehow, yes, there are good stories there, but there were also very bad stories that we found there. So maybe let's start, before you come in, DG, let's start with the chairperson of the internal audit of DALRRD.
Thank you, Chairperson, once again. Chair, you would appreciate that some of the findings, they will take longer to implement. I will give an example. For example, in terms of consequence management, you will see that in terms of what the department is putting in place there to strengthen that area, they are looking at putting in an electronic system to assist them to monitor the cases. They're also looking at strengthening the coordination within the consequence management that needs to happen. So I'm just using that as an example, Chair, to say for some of the findings, they are not going to be cleared in this year. That is prior to the audit, understandably so, because the actions that need to be put in place or implemented will actually extend beyond the year. And fortunately for this one, like for example, consequence management will cut across, which means even for the new departments, that will still need to be monitored and ensuring that it is implemented. So yes, there are findings that we are not going to be finalized before this audit because of their nature, but we are confident, as I've said in my conclusion, that we are confident with the assurance that we were given by management from quarter to quarter on the work that they are doing in closing the matters, because then you see from quarter to quarter the improvement, Chair. So we are confident in that regard. And Chair, in terms of the audit outcomes, based on the work that we have done, at worst, we are expecting to end up where we were. At best, we are expecting to see an improvement regarding the audit outcomes of DALRRD. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. DG, just the last one, and then, so that we can give the OBP to make a presentation.
No, thank you very much, Chair. And Chair is correct in terms of just the outlook in terms of our support to the smallholder farmers. That is why with National Treasury, we are embarking on consolidating all the assistance that we are having for smallholder development, especially under the financial ones, into one, so that it can be better managed. And it can also be better monitored, as you had indicated, Chair. In the past financial year, this is just an exercise that I started doing with the colleagues led by Onderstepoort, just to ensure that each and every deliverable that we have under one of the programs, we go out and check what's happening there. And there are those very good stories, and there are also horrid stories that we had unfolded, and we are now working on ensuring that we can have a better system that then captures these issues very early on. What we have also done on the blended finance side, we have got quarterly meetings with the Land Bank, the last meeting having had this week, where we take through the issues that we have with the Land Bank and ensure that everything is being crossed off. The engagements at different levels are being looked at with a view of changing how we engage. We have also proposed in the last meeting that we have had, because blended finance seems to be a very good instrument for commercial farmers, or the new era commercial farmers, as they are called, is that we will also, in our MinTech, start having Land Bank involved in terms of the processes, so that we can see how do we improve the efficiencies, especially for those who can, at provincial level, also be assisted through blended finance, so that ecosystem is adequately covered. In our view, as the chair of the audit committee has indicated, Chair, we are looking at improving the systems in the two departments, and we are very aware that the separation of the two departments would not happen as an issue that is overnight. That is why we are working very closely to ensure that areas of cooperation are always there. Memo Kono is here. She's currently reporting within the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development. But we have made a pact that when it comes to the closing off of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, we will all work together, and we will continue working together in terms of ensuring that sector issues are being dealt with. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, and to the Chair of the Audit Committee of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, MEMZIS.
Thank you very much, DG. We can now move on to the next presentation. Honorable Trolip, do you have a hand up, or is that a legacy hand?
No, it is a hand, Chair. I'm sorry. I don't know if
Okay.
I missed it, but I did ask a question around the heritage assets.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I don't think I heard a response.
Okay. DG, is that you or is it Lemu?
I think Honorable Trolip may have missed it. It was responded to by Memo Kono, and Memo Kono will just reiterate in terms of what Honorable Trolip had missed. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Stefan?
Thank you, Chair. The heritage budget that we've got under capital is, I've indicated also that it's a budget that is done under rural infrastructure. So in this case, we have a project, the Zirbeck heritage site, where we're doing construction work around that space, that also had a delay, which then created a challenge with regard to underspending. So what we do with rural infrastructure, with the rural development unit within the land reform, where there are constructions that needs to happen within heritage site, we do budget for that, and that we then classify that under heritage assets. So that is why we had a underspending in that space. And I've indicated that with the challenge around rural infrastructure, that is an area that as a department we are looking to improve. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Chairperson, I'm sorry. I'm now more confused than ever. I didn't hear a response. And this response now doesn't address my question. There's a budget of 20 million rand for heritage assets, and I'm told it's for rural infrastructure. I don't I can't accept that response because it leaves me more unclear than I was when I asked the question originally.
Okay. Stefan?
Chair, can I request that we do a detailed response, because then we'll be able to explain how the intercrossings between that line item with with development get integrated.
In
If it's
writing?
okay with you, Chair. Yes.
Yes, no, that's fine. That's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Trolip. I think you are fine if they just write it. And please make sure that by next week we have that response. So when we meet next week, we would have that response sent to us already. Okay, we are now coming to Dr. Madumo Ukona.
Good morning, Honorable Member. Yes, I'm around with the
Yes.
team.
Are you around?
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Okay, Doc. So it's your turn now. It's in CEO to make a presentation.
Well, good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. In attendance, Chair, I want to recognize that we have the Chair of OBP, who's also attending this meeting, Chair. And
Well, let's give the chair first. Go then. Let the chair be the one who takes the first part. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to yourself, and also good morning to honorable members of the Portfolio Committee. Honorable Chairperson, the interim CEO of the OBP will present the overall performance of the OBP during Q4 of 2024-25. And thereafter, we have Ms. DALRRD, the acting CFO, who will present the financial performance during the same quarter. And Honorable Chair, I need to state that we do not have Mr. Buerta with us because he passed on 3 weeks ago. And so Ms. DALRRD is our financial manager, and she is acting as CFO as recruitment is unfolding for a substantive CFO. And yes, that is the reason why she is with us, Honorable Chair. And I'll hand over through you to Dr. Madumo.
Okay, just before Dr. Madumo, can we just send condolences to yourselves? We didn't know about Mr. Buerta's passing. We send condolences to yourself as the chair and the entire family of OBP, but also to the family of Mr. Buerta. Thank you very much. We can then allow a doctor to make a presentation.
Thank you again, Honorable Chair, honorable members, the Chair of OBP, DG, and also ESCO colleagues at Department of Agriculture. With me, Chair, I'm with my executive colleagues. I'm with the interim CFO. I'm also with the head of legal and COO, and also the secretariat. Next slide, please. What I will be presenting, key things, Chair, is focusing on the performance outcomes of OBP. I will dwell more on those that we didn't achieve, and then the CFO will summarize the financials. We will also give an update with regard to the audit action plan. All the 3 product availability, freeze dryer, and progress on GMP, Chair. These are standard items that we think that every time when we get an opportunity to come to the honorable members, we need to give an update with regard to the last 3 items, which we feel that they are quite key. And next slide, please. Basically, this is where we are, Chair. I'm not going to waste time with this model. It just describes everything that makes OBP. Next slide, please. On the overall performance for quarter 4, Chair, we had 20 target. We had 6 that we didn't achieve and 14 that we managed to achieve. So on the overall percentage for the quarter, it was actually 70%, Chair. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, Chair, like I actually said, I will just focus on those that we didn't actually achieve and give a little bit of more explanation. We've got 4 programs. The first one, Chair, is the financial sustainability. And under the financial sustainability, we achieved 40%. The one where we didn't achieve, it was in our sales revenue target. Now, if you can recall, Chair, when we were at the committee early this year, when we were reporting the quarter 3 performance, we did outline that we had some challenges with regard to picking some of the products, especially because we had some challenges with the diluent, and which we had to work even over the weekend during the festive season so that we can actually get it done in preparation for the new financial year. That was done successfully with regard to the overproduction of our diluent. So what happened in quarter 4, we had quite a lot of freeze-dried product that we had to pack, and that took some time to take advantage of the revenue. We still use the old packing system that is not as efficient if you look at the other competitors, whereby the technology and the automation is the sum of the technologies that we use. We do have an equipment on site at OBP that we will be commissioning so that at least we start using it as part and parcel of improving our efficiency of picking, and also reducing the lead time to transfer the product from packaging also to distribution. The other one where we didn't actually achieve, Chair, was the registration of products to Act 36. This is the regulatory requirement on certain information on the dossiers that we actually submit. Where we had a deficiency, Chair, it was due to lack of clinical trials. And when you conduct clinical trials, you need to conduct them in an approved facility. So Chair, we indicated to you that we have a vector-proof facility that has been built. Now, the vector-proof facility, before its use, it needs to be audited by the Department of Agriculture, which they've actually done. They've given us findings, and we're currently working on responding to those findings so that we can operationalize the facility in quarter 2 of the current financial year. So we believe that by quarter 2, we will finalize all the outstanding clinical trials so that at least we submit even the dossiers for this current financial year. On the increased EBITDA, Chair, it goes hand in hand with our sales revenue. If you don't push more sales, obviously it will have an impact with regard to your profit. So the reason why we didn't achieve on the profit was because we didn't achieve more on the sales revenue target. Next slide, please. This one is the second program, Chair, continuous improvement of business processes. And you'll see that on the one we achieved a 57% achievement. The one that we didn't achieve was more on the enterprise architecture plan, Chair, with this more informed by our ICT strategy. Chair, what OBP in the long term we need is an efficient and up-to-date ERP system. As a pharmaceutical company, we need technology that actually informs all our processes, costing, and also more importantly, it has to integrate with clients outside at point of sale, and more importantly is to introduce an e-commerce within the platform. During the discussion, which is now at ESCO, we realized that the plan that we wanted to roll out, the budget was not enough for us to have an efficient and effective long-term ICT strategy. It was on that basis that we had to hold it back so that we can put sufficient budget for this important strategy, that we know that within the next coming 3 years, we'll actually roll it out as part and parcel of the new improvement within our ICT. And we will be presenting the ICT strategy to the board for consideration and also for approval. At the moment, the ICT strategy is still at executive level, where it's currently being debated and compiled, and we will be sharing it with the board for consideration so that they can approve it. On the GMP target chain under business processes is the GMP, the one that I did actually present in our previous engagement with the honorable members. We have indicated in the last one that the kickstart of this project needs a specialist advisor. We've outlined to the committee in our last engagement that the specifications with regard to the specialist advisor has now been completed, which is part and parcel of our SEM process. And we are continuing now in making sure that the tender is advertised, and our target date for appointing the specialist advisor will be in Q2. On the sell-through rate share is linked with the first one on the first program under financial sustainability. This is the ratio between the sales and product in distribution. So if you don't transfer enough product into distribution, it will take you off the target of between 40 and 80%. This target is quite important because it measures two things. One, it measures your sales revenue performance and volumes that you push. And then secondly, it actually measures your efficiency with regard to how efficient you are as an organization in picking and transferring the product to the distribution so that they can easily be accessible. So we didn't actually achieve that based on what I've alluded in the first under financial sustainability. Next slide, please. On program 3, Chair, we achieved almost everything. We didn't have anything on achievement, but in summary, I think this program speaks more about our efficiency. The last 2 years, we had very serious challenge with regard to customer complaints. Clients and stakeholders have been complaining. So we had to identify a program that will actually speak to that. And we did very well, especially in Q4 with regard to providing quite a lot of service to clients. And of particular was a positive outcome on product availability. Next slide. Even on this one, Chair, we achieved anything. The 30% is just the one target that was not relevant for this quarter. But in a nutshell, under this one, Chair, under governance, we also managed to achieve 100%. Next slide. I will now give the CFO a chance to present the financials.
Good day, everybody. The key financial indicators for Q4 is as follows. During Q4 and ending March 2025, OBP generated revenue of 55 million, an improvement to prior year revenue of 45 million by 10 million. Against the budget of 70 million, there's an adverse variance of 14 million. Expenses are in line with prior year and budget. OBP had a net loss before tax of 14 million. There is more than the prior year by 11 million, and to the budget by 14 million. Next slide, please. This is a graphical indication of the key financial indicators, actual versus budget. Next slide, please. The statement of performance in more detail. We're only focusing on Q4 because the year to date is preliminary numbers that need to be audited first due to changes in our costing method. Highlighting the gross profit in the current year, that is a low of 40 million. The significant reduction of the gross margin is primarily due to one-time inventory write-offs during the physical stock count. Next slide, please. This is the indication of the statement of financial position. As on 30 March 2025, OBP's total asset exceeds its liabilities by 355 million. Management is satisfied that the entity has sufficient cash to meet obligations as and when they do fall. OBP has no borrowings and received grants for capital acquisitions. Next slide, please. The action plan shows an progress of 95% completed, 37 out of 39 items. The final closure of the information system audit outcome depends on the upgrade of the ERP in future. We closed all the part that we could do manually, but the ERP will be the final solution in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I think the reason why we included the year-to-date, Chair, it is because we just wanted to give the honourable members the heads up that our books from our side have now been closed, and then we are now in the process of being audited by the AG. We will have another opportunity sometimes in the next couple of months to come to the honourable members so that we can present the audited annual report and financial performance of the company. Now, Chair, on this slide is the information that we've decided as an organization that we need to also include when we engage with the honourable members is more on the product availability. And you can recall, on members, that we had a very serious problem with regard to our freeze dryer, which had an impact on most of our freeze dried products. And I can simply say that though there was a delay in the picking of a lot of our freeze dried product, the positive outcome with regard to the current financial year is we have African nose sickness. And in fact, on the African nose sickness, we have over 4,000 units that we distributed in the month of March that is currently in the point of sale. And the irony of it is some of the clients who purchased the African nose sickness even contacted us that they have overstocked themselves and they wanted to return stock. But we have assured them that we will be assisting them to create demand on the use of the product with the industry so that at least we have a very good coverage of immunity within the head of the African nose sickness, as we know that the disease itself is devastating. The blue tongue vaccine is also available, Rivoli fever. We normally export quite a lot. We have held back on the product so that we can look at our the national market. Lumpy skin, it has always been there, Brucella, and also Refan. So all these key products, Chair, I can actually indicate, which has always been in the media. We do have enough stock of the product, even the blood vaccines that I didn't actually include, but blood vaccines don't go through the freeze dryer, but we all have all the blood vaccines available at OBP. Next slide. Chair, the last time when we presented, it was very difficult from my side to explain what is installation and what is installed. So I thought maybe the pictures can actually speak for themselves. So what we have on the left is during the installation process of the freeze dryer, the bigger freeze dryer, the one that I've reported to the committee, which takes around more than 60,000 vial per cycle. And then the picture on your right is already an installed freeze dryer. Now, Chair, let me just take this opportunity just to explain to the honorable members that there are contract between OBP and the service provider. From our side, based on the contract, the German technicians were here to install the equipment, which they've done and they've left. Now, what is outstanding is the other technicians from China to also come and also start operationalizing the equipment. And remember, during that process, we have completed different products with different lead times, different antigens, which simply means you will need different settings and to make sure that what comes out of that freeze dryer complies with our quality control standards. So that is part and parcel of the validation that we need to go through. And for each and every product, you need to have around 3 batches so that there is consistency of your results. So the reason why I'm trying to explain to honorable members is to understand that the moment you have an equipment, there are processes, quality management process that you need to comply with. And then come the time that we start producing, at least we get the best outcome of this equipment. Next slide, please. Remember, Chair, I've indicated to the committee that we have another freeze dryer which has now reached our shores and it's on its way. We expect it to be at OBP in the middle of June, which will be next week. So the second freeze dryer is around 30,000 vials per cycle. I think when you compare OBP just on the 2 freeze dryer with the Tesla that we actually have, I don't think we'll have any form of competition with regard to capacity. Most of the competitors now, our output on our current Tesla that we currently use is anything between 13 and 15,000. Competitors, I think, is less than 13,000. So with the current freeze dryer, we still beat them on the output that we currently have. So the second freeze dryer will actually be more additions to what we already have on the 15,000, the 60,000. It will add more with regard to the volumes that we actually expect. The installation of the second freeze dryer is expected from Q2, and then we will provide the committee with more information with regard to that. Next slide, please. Chair, also the GMP project is always been reported to the committee. Our last presentation to the committee, we indicated that the SEM process has begun and we have finalized the specifications, which are, of course, needs to be have already been approved by the bid specification committee, and we are now ready for that to go on tender. Our target date, Chair, is to have at least the completion of the SEM process at least by Q2 in July, and we are still within the target of at least complying with our SEM process to make sure that at least we have the specialist advisor by the end of July. Chair, basically what I have just summarized is the overall performance of 70%, as I've already indicated. Around our APP, there are 2 programs that we didn't achieve, Program 1 and Program 2. We've given you the summary of our financials. We might not have achieved our sales revenue, but as an organization, the finances of the organization shows that we are quite healthy, and I've already provided you with information on the product availability status of our freeze dryer, and more importantly, progress with regard to the GMP progress. So those are the key things, Chair, that this presentation has provided the honorable members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CEO, for the presentation, honorable members. There you are. I will see by show of hands if you would like to engage the presentation. Honorable David, Honorable Trolli.
Ndalane.
Yes, Honorable Trolli, Honorable Ndalane. Okay, you can start, Honorable David.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, OBP, for your presentation. My question is on the financial report performance. Question, what structural changes or revenue generation strategies are being considered to enhance OBP's long-term financial sustainability, especially given its public mandate to produce affordable vaccines rather than operate as a profit-driven entity? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable David. Honorable Trolli.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just a question around the GMP. I was concerned, I saw a 22% mark at the GMP. That is a matter of concern. And then in any organization that is supposed to be self-funding and self-sustaining, I'm concerned that the revenue is so far below the projected target, especially when I hear in the presentation that we have vaccine stocks that exceed our expectations, yet the revenue is down. That's an indicator that is a matter of concern and needs some response. Then with regards to vaccines that need to be produced in the freeze dryers, I note that there's a long list of those vaccines that are available and in stock, despite the fact that the new freeze dryer hasn't come into operation yet, and the second one's only arriving in June. So the question is, why are we not able to produce vaccines when all of a sudden we've now got a surplus and we haven't yet even started using the new freeze dryers? And then my last question is around the presenter said they didn't give us any indication of blood vaccines that don't need to go into the freeze dryer. He said that they had supplies of blood. When did Asiatic and African red water blood stocks come into availability? Because the deadlines that were given for the end of November, then was December, then it was in January, and that season has come and gone. And I'm curious as to when those blood stocks got to the required levels and whether they were available during the high pressure seasons for tick-borne diseases. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Trolli. Honorable Ndalane.
Thanks, Chair. I think on the issue of stock vessel capacity, is OBP its current vaccine stocks primarily from sustained production or from previous supplies? Can the committee receive quarterly update or actual production volumes versus forecast need to ensure the institution remains responsive to disease outbreaks, especially in emerging report markets? Can we receive those quarterly updates?
Okay, thank you. Are you done, Honorable Ndalane?
Thanks, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Chairperson and CEO. Oh, just a bit before you come in, Honorable Smith, followed by Honorable Oakham. I thought today you don't have any interest in
No, Chair. Yeah, well, we've been engaging on some of these subjects already. So,
Yeah.
yes. I just want to make sure this is now questions on OBPA.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I just want to hear, Chairperson, in terms of the freeze dryers, we have engaged about it before. I just want to update in terms of the current status of the installing of the freeze dryers. How far is that? Is there changes on the timelines and so forth? And then maybe also in terms of readiness for production, especially of vaccines that were previously out and not available. If they can just give us some update in terms of, is there certain challenges still, and how far are they in terms of ensuring production is in place and enough for the seasons that lie ahead? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Okam, followed by Honorable Isaacs.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the presentation. On the African horse sickness and other vaccines availability, you just say there that you've got enough available. I would like to see the trends over the years, in which months the highest amount of vaccines for the different sicknesses are ordered. We saw last year that when the later part of the year comes, especially when summertime comes, then there's a higher demand for especially African horse sickness vaccines. My question is, although you might have enough now, what are your forecasts with regards to previous years on what you will need later during this year? And will you be able to produce enough of those vaccines when the higher demand comes? We saw last year that close to August, September, October, there was a huge shortage thereof. And obviously there are certain times when it can't be applied anymore because of the time factors. So will you have enough, especially on African horse sickness, during the time period that the high demand will be there? I have been covered with regards to the freeze dryers. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Okam. Honorable Isaacs.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me first, before I ask my question, because I've been covered in some instances by some of the members that spoke before me, let me first of all commend OBP. In fact, the considerable progress that we can actually observe in terms of ensuring that there is at least a progress report with regards to issues of the freeze dryer, but also with regards to issues of the availability of stocks with regards to vaccines. There is one issue that I think I was covered by Honorable Ndalane in terms of making sure that we receive a regular update, but also I would love to know in terms of sustainability, and that goes naturally with the issue of resource mobilization. Since inherently OBP is not a profit-driven organization. So I would love to know what kind of progress they have made with regards to the issue of making sure that they are properly resourced financially, but also being able to continue to execute the mandate that they are supposed to be doing. But particularly then, reflecting on the sustainability of the availability of the vaccines and that they are responsible for. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Isaacs, and all members for the questions. May I then hand over to the Chairperson and the CEO for the responses?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you also to honorable members of the PC. Honorable Chair, I will hand over to Dr. Modumo to provide responses to the issues that have been raised by members of the committee. Doc?
Well, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair. If ever I misunderstood some of the question, I would appreciate if maybe Honorable Moyo can just remind me where I've actually missed it. The first one, Chair, was more on what structural changes we actually made from strategic point of view so that and how will that have an impact, positive impact to the end user? Now, Chair, if you look at what OBP intends to achieve in the medium to long term, is to be efficient with regard to the production of vaccines so that we make our product available to the end user, especially within the domestic market. But more importantly is OBP's growth does not only depend on the domestic market. We also depend on the export market, whereby the market is now starting to be price sensitive. The market, they will compare whether your product is very effective and more, is it affordable. So, and it's part and parcel of the input cost, especially on the farmer, whereby cost, what they put on their animals, there are always checks and balances from their side, and they will always take advantage of a product that is less pricey and that they can actually afford. Now, your question is, what structural changes have we put in place with regard to that response? That is why we're talking about GMP. That is why we're talking about freeze dry. That is why we're talking about fermenters big enough to give us an advantage of economic of scale. Now, the South African farmers, especially when you look at the small emerging smallholder farmers and also emerging farmers, they've raised concerns with regard to affordability of most of our product. Now, if you look at what we are going to be rolling out in the short term, especially in 2026, with regard to the new freeze dryer, we are going to get far more volumes having used the same starting material. So what it has, it will have a very positive impact with regard to pricing, and that will actually be affordable to a lot of farmers, irrespective of whether they are commercial, smallholder, or emerging. But the essence as a state-owned company is just to make sure that product that come from OBP, not only are they price competitive, but at least farmers can actually afford to procure them. We had concerns with regard to the price of African nose sickness, and the current freeze dryer will drastically drop the price of the African nose sickness, because it's quite a tedious product to produce, and it's quite expensive. So we have listened to the market, and we have to be responsive to that. And that freeze dryer will be able to give us more volumes at a cheaper price. So that is some of the structural changes for us to be competitive. The GMP is more to assist OBP in improving our foothold. The issue of GMP is used as a trade barrier, and if ever you are not GMP certified, you will never be allowed to enter any market, like I've explained before. So that is why this project is quite important for OBP to increase its presence everywhere in the world. And there was a question with regard to our GMP achievement of 20%. I can agree with Honorable Trolip that yes, it was not achieved. We have been sharing issues with regard to GMP, which has now been clarified. That is why we are now rolling it out at full strength to make sure that the moment we appoint the specialist advisor, we will come again to the same committee to share with you how we are going to roll it out moving forward, to make sure that at least there is progress with regard to implementation of the GMP. Without the GMP, it will be quite difficult, especially for OBP to grow within the outside market. Yes, there was a drop in the sales revenue, but if ever you can look at the doses that we've actually sold, you might have realized that with percentage comparatively to the previous year, we did exceedingly well. And the reason why we did exceedingly well, it was because a lot of freeze-dried products are viral product, high-value product. So with one vial that you sell over 100 doses to 50 doses, which simply means 100 animals might be vaccinated, and then 50 means 50 animals might be vaccinated. So that actually assisted in at least performing far better than the previous year. The issue of sales revenue, Chair, it is because I think we didn't take advantage of the opportunistic sales which presented itself to us, because with our system, internal system of the long lead time of packing and also transferring to the distribution section, it takes a little bit longer. So we have already acknowledged that. That is why we are going to start commissioning one of the equipment which has been bought some years back, and we have seen now with that equipment we'll actually get a far better efficiency with regard to efficiency of picking and also transferring a product into distribution. There was a question of why do we have surplus of products? Chair, we don't have surplus of products, but we have a product in response to the sales focus. OBP works on a sales focus. Without the sales focus or a demand focus, we won't be able to produce. The production team plan their production at least 4 months ahead, and they will always need the sales focus. So you always have to have products available at point of sale, which has been quite a challenge in the last few years. And I can confirm that in 2021, 2022, Chair, and 2023, it was really a tough year for the organization. We experienced quite a lot of disruptions with regard to the unavailability of the freeze dryer. And in 2024, I think the biggest challenge, especially half of 2024, we had a Telstar, which we actually procured for our R&D project, but we can still use it as a commercial equipment, which we managed to do. And it was quite a challenge for us to get the settings right. That is why, since we have got the settings right, we never had any problem with regard to getting product out of the current freeze dryer. Not to say that it gives us more, but the problem with the current freeze dryer, because of its capacity, we end up using it more frequent, and which simply means you use it more, there will be some disruptions with regard to your maintenance, and even cost might actually go up. On the blood vaccines, Chair, we had quite a lot of blood vaccines. Yes, we had some product unavailability, especially on the anaplasma, which I think the honorable members did actually raise it as a concern. And a lot of the blood vaccines were released in Q3. And I had a lot of engagement with quite a lot of veterinarians who are at farm. And what they cautioned us was it would be, especially from their sides as vets, is they don't want to vaccinate against tick-borne disease while it's at the peak of the possible disease. So what they wanted from us in the last few weeks was to provide them with the stock availability, and they will provide us with the demand focus, because most of them deal with commercial farmers. They've got high numbers of animals. So the moment they start preparing, we have to make sure that because it's a cost on the farmer. So when they move animals to the point where they're going to vaccinate them, the precision of the date of delivery is quite key. So we have had a positive engagement with a lot of private vets, and we have committed ourselves that at the time when they need the blood vaccines, we'll be able to deliver. This is the start of most of the blood vaccines. We've seen quite a lot of demand of the blood vaccines, both the Asiatic and Africa red water. They are currently available, and we are in engagement with the co-ops and also the private vets to make the product available and delivered as promised. There was a request for quarterly updates, Chair, and I think that is not a problem from our side to provide such an update on product availability. We'll do that. We've been doing that in the last few years during the time when we had some problems, but we can resume and also provide the committee with an updated product availability information. I think there was also a question which was similar to the freeze dryer with regard to the timelines on whether the timelines have actually changed. Now, Chair, remember the freeze dryer that has currently been installed. For it to be commissioned is a contractual agreement, which is linked with of course with payment, but that deliverables from the service provider. The Germans have done their part of installing the equipment. Now, what is outstanding is the Chinese who have to come because they produce this equipment. The technology belongs to the Germans, but the equipment is actually being produced in China. So we are currently waiting for the availability of the Chinese. There was such a long process from visa applications, and they had their other commitments. But I think for us, it suits us very well because now it gives us time to continue with the production when they will be arriving in South Africa around August to September. The question was how far we are, whether we have any challenge. I can safely say that because we managed to produce we managed to produce more in Q2, which was transferred in Q3 to Q4. So there was quite a lot of vials that we managed to pack and transferred in readiness for Q1 of the new financial year. As of now, Chair, I can say we have never had any form of demand. There was quite a lot of panic buying that we did actually caution our client that was not necessary for them to panic. The product is available. We will be able to supply quite enough on the African nose sickness. And at this point, they do have a product available from their side. We do have the trends that Honorable Okam did actually ask with regard to the movement of product over there. That information we will be able to provide you. But what I want to caution you, we will provide you with maybe more than 10 years so that you take out trends during the COVID year. As you know, that there was quite a little bit of disruptions with regard to in 2020, but we resumed again in 2021. And again, 2023, 2024, we had disruptions with regard to our freeze dryer. Now we are normal. So every time when I present a movement of the African nose sickness vaccine, I prefer to provide a 10 years so that you can actually see that when is the product available and when we can actually dispatch it. Now, in response to, do we have information on when is the product available? Because last year there was quite an outcry on the availability of African nose sickness just before the start of the rainy season. The answer is yes, the analysis is correct, and even the comment is correct. Remember last year, Honorable Chair, we had a problem with regard to supply on time. That we did actually acknowledge, and it was compounded by the unavailability of the diluent, which we have already rectified. So the reason why, in preparation for this current financial year, we tried by all means to produce on time, transfer on time, and to make sure that the product is distributed prior to the commencement of the vaccination season, especially when you look at a disease such as African nose sickness. We wanted to avoid a crisis that we experienced a year ago, and I think we did very well that in March and April we distributed enough to point of sale, and we still have stock so that when the horse owners start vaccination, which is now in June, especially for specific regions, right up until October, the product is available. We will continue producing the African nose sickness. I think we have enough, and our intention is to at least produce around 180,000 doses which we think that even if there can be demand post the October 2025, we will still have to cater for those horse owners who decided to vaccinate late, but at least they will have an opportunity for them to protect their animals. So I can say that the African horse sickness, it is no longer an issue from our side. We have managed to take care of that demand. On the sustainability and resource mobilization, Chair, OBP is a pharmaceutical company, and what Chair and all our members need to understand is, as a state-owned company, we have to be profitable, unfortunately, and that is why we function like a private company. So when we operate and we go out in the market, we compete just like any other private company without any favors. And the co-op didn't actually give us a special treatment. We have to compete. We have to make sure that we have our product at point of sale. Our visibility has to be on point. We have to speak with the market and respond to their needs. We are fortunate enough that we have a current board that has approved quite a lot of mobilization of resources. That is why we have a capital expenditure plan which will respond to our immediate needs and will also look ahead with regard to what the organization might actually need. The key of this is produce more and also be profitable. And if you can produce, but you might not be profitable. So our investment into what we have is more on investing into economies of scale, so that we avoid the multiple production, which will help us produce less, spend less, but at the same time, we have product that will last us for more than 2 years, which will come in from the freeze dryer and the volume of the liquid product coming from the fermenters that we have actually procured. So OBP will be a dominant player within the next couple of years, based on the investment that the company will be making in its facility and the equipment that we have already committed ourselves. So I'm positive that with the mobilization of resources, especially on the research and development, we will be having the product profiles that will be competitive with any company around the world. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, CEO, for the responses. I want to take it that members are satisfied by the responses. Thank you once more for availing yourself and for also updating us on more of the information on the GMP project, and also on the vaccines. I want to believe that Honorable Okamp is very happy about the progress, but we really appreciate the progress that you are making, and we want to wish you well on your responsibilities going forward. To both yourselves, through the chairperson and the entire team that accompanied you, we do appreciate it. We hope to see you next time. The officials in the department led by the DG, we want to thank you very much, DG and your team. I believe that we will be meeting you next week on Tuesday, and that is going to be the entire day, and it's going to be a physical meeting where we're going to engage next week. So we will definitely see you next week, and your entire team. Colleagues, thank you very much for your time. I just want us to go back to the agenda and see if we have any item that we have not touched. Okay, so all the items have been attended to. Thank you once more to the officials for supporting us here in the meeting. Without any indication of a hand, I would like to officially declare the meeting closed. And have a lovely day. Those that are going to the house, we'll see you there in the afternoon. Thank you very much, colleagues. May you have a lovely day.
Thank you, Chair. Have a wonderful day too.
My appreciation, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Recording stopped.